Well, again, in a big change from what it was like 20 years ago, everybody has got the capability to shoot saleable stuff, more or less, in their phone. So it's fine to just start with an iPhone or an Android phone of similar thing. You've got a decent camera on there. It can shoot video. It won't give you many creative choices, but it's absolutely fine to get started. So the first thing is to try it, go through the whole process, shoot some stuff, put it up, sell it, figure out what works, and then decide where you want to concentrate. Because maybe you discover that you love making selfie videos talking to the camera, in which case you might be fine with a phone for years. Or you might discover that still photos are your thing, in which case you really need to step up to something with more creative options sooner rather than later. So there's a sort of hierarchy. So the models that I know who've been creating for a while, they all seem to go through these stages. They all start out with a phone, then they all step up essentially to this or something like it. So this is a 4K Sony Handycam. This is what my wife shoots most of her customs on. It's got a lovely flip around screen so you can see yourself, which is great for solo shooting, but it's also perfectly fine for a videographer to use to film you. If you're more interested in stills, people usually move up to something like this. This is a Panasonic GH4. The latest version is the GH5, very much the same sort of thing. It's just got a lens that you can change so that you can get more creative options. And it's got a bit more in the way of manual control. You get a slightly nicer picture out of it. Most people who are actually concentrating on the photography then end up with a proper modern top of the range thing like this. This is a Sony equivalent of that Panasonic. This is an A7S III. And the big differences are the autofocus will really do good stuff for you. And you can see I've got this funny widget on top here. This is a radio receiver for a microphone. And I've got a massive, great portrait lens here. You can just get much better lenses, much nicer picture quality. This will shoot 4K at 100 frames per second for lovely slow-mo, which is really nice to have in your armory. It's got a very good dynamic range, so it can shoot a lot of range in the picture between bright and dark. So you don't get that nasty kind of video look you get on your phone where the bits of you that are in highlight burn out to just nasty white. It all looks much more like a cinema film. So start with the thing that will do the job today that you know you need to do today. After that, I would say people obsess about the camera, and that's the wrong thing to obsess about because cameras go out of date all the time. The thing to spend your money on, the first thing is to buy a decent external microphone. So something like this. It sits on the top of the camera, which isn't 100% ideal, but this will give you so much more, there we go, so much better sound quality than the camera's little built-in tiny little microphone, which you can see is about the size of a pinprick. It'll cut out handling noise from when you do stuff in the camera. It's on a shock mount so that you don't hear so much of that. It cuts out noise from behind it. So if there's a videographer holding it here, you don't hear so much of their breathing. I'm notorious for heavy breathing on my videos because the microphone is literally that far from my mouth and it's 6 feet from the model. So whatever she's saying is drowned out by me going, so this sort of thing will help for that. Or a step up is to this. This is a little, there we go. This is a little external microphone. It's a hypercardioid, which is a good general purpose microphone. And on the back of it, it's got a radio transmitter, which just plugs straight into that Sony. So I get sound without any pops and crackles. I don't have cables trailing anywhere. So sound is much more important than video in terms of conveying the quality of what you're producing. You can put up with the most jerky, crappy jumpy video and people won't notice it. But if the sound's bad, you notice it immediately. The other two things to spend your money on before you spend everything on your camera: buy some decent lenses because they last 10 or 20 years, and buy a decent tripod because that'll probably outlive you. I've got a tripod that I very much suspect if I have great grandchildren, it'll be fine for them to be using. So spend money on that rather than camera bodies.